Hey guys, I'm Fainer. Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to talk about Mod Sun's new album, Internet Killed The Rockstar. So now that Downfall's High has been released and Tickets to My Downfall is somewhat behind us, I've been very anxious to see what the MGK crowd is going to do next. Visibility is at an all-time high on this little scene, and we are absolutely seeing them capitalize on it. Youngblood released a very popular album in December. Maggie Lindemann's debut album released less than a month ago, and it looks like even Chase Hudson is starting a music career with his very Pete Wentz-inspired 21st Century Vampire video. Those of you who are familiar with Tickets to My Downfall will know that Mod Sun and Travis Barker were very big influences on the writing and design of Tickets to My Downfall. And in my mind, this has placed a lot of emphasis on Mod Sun to sort of carry the genre forward while Machine Gun Kelly prepares to release his next album. And here we are. Mod Sun has released his follow-up album, and how is it? Well, in typical Fainer fashion, I want to discuss a couple other things first. So, first, something I think a lot of people misunderstand about genres is that they're not really defined by their sound at the beginning. Genres start off as a group of people, or a scene, and those people just make whatever music they feel like making. And it's only in retrospect that we can go back and look at the music and what sounds they used and slap a genre tag on it. While you're living through it, you don't know what sounds a genre is going to be remembered for. And so I've really been wondering what the distinctive sounds of this genre will be. Tickets to My Downfall was honestly 50% Travis Barker. As important as MGK was to that album, the production techniques and sound design of the whole thing is very much the signature Travis Barker sound. Travis Barker is listed as the executive producer on that album for a very good reason. And my foremost concern has really been that taking Travis Barker's production techniques might be the only trick the genre has. And if that turns out to be true, I don't think it would kill the genre, but it would limit its impact and also cause it to get stale quite quickly. What really needs to happen in order to make this a genre which can survive past 2021 or 2022 is that it needs to be pop-punk revivalism or pop-rock revivalism. It can't be Blink-182 revivalism. And it does look like the relevant artists are at least attempting to go in that pop-punk, pop-rock kind of direction rather than just like stick really tightly to the Blink-182 formula. For example, Youngblood said he was trying to be emo Freddie Mercury on his last album. Jaden has a lot of emo rap to his instrumentals, but he keeps the vocals and attitude punk. Maggie Lindemann's album last month lifted some guitar tones and riffs from Paramore, tried to be a bit heavier than its peers, and was engineered and produced quite well. And despite her being a bit of a weak and stiff vocalist, she's so charismatic and has such a large following outside of music that I don't think that matters much. And we'll see what happens with Chase Hudson. I thought his debut single was a relatively well-produced pop-punk anthem, but also I don't even know if he really intends to do music, so who knows. However, I would say that the main limitation of these artists I just mentioned is that they're all very young and centered around being influencers and cultural icons. You know, perhaps with the exception of Youngblood. They are great as faces and chairmen for the scene, but they simply don't have the songwriting and music experience to be steering the ship at the moment. And that makes them relatively dependent on their producers and record labels to define the nuances of their sound profiles. But now we get to Mod Sun. And while he isn't quite as popular as the names I just mentioned, I do genuinely look to him to see what direction the genre will take sonically. He's been in the music scene for over 15 years now, and he knows enough to make serious decisions about his sound and his brand. And one of the things I was very excited to see is that they went with John Feldman for the production of Internet Killed The Rockstar. He's most famous for his band Goldfinger, but he's honestly more accomplished as a producer these days than as a musician. And right out the gate, I think it's awesome how little this album sounds like Tickets to My Downfall. Mod Sun absolutely could have come out with a copycat album, and that probably would have done just fine, but it would have stunted the genre. Instead, Mod Sun did a great job of capturing what made Tickets so successful without just copying the album verbatim. There is basically zero Blink-182 sound on this album whatsoever. And honestly, this album isn't even consistently pop punk. Most of the sounds are just pure pop rock. You know, for as much Jimmy Eat World and All American Rejects as I got out of this album, I got just as much Neon Trees and One Direction. And this is exactly what Mod Sun should have done. You know, at least in my opinion. He kept all of Ticket's sensibilities, but he adjusted them to suit his own strengths. You know, like in particular, Mod Sun is a big, strong, belting vocalist, and he can create shouty sing-along songs with just his voice. And what do you know, this album is packed with those. MGK doesn't have the voice to do that, and so we can see Mod Sun differentiating himself and creating a niche for his music. And honestly, I walk away from this album with more of a stadium rock vibe than I do pop punk. Okie dokie, summary time. I consider this to be a defining album of the pop punk revival genre that MGK essentially kicked off. There are very few artists in this genre right now, and its style and boundaries are still being defined. With this album in particular, Mod Sun has carved out a niche for himself, making fun, cheerful, anthemic stadium rock songs, and what little hip-hop there is included almost as an afterthought. And while I don't think this album will be nearly as popular as Tickets to My Downfall, I think it does plant a flag. And it shows that this genre won't simply be limited to the rubric of copying old pop-punk bands and combining their sounds with hip-hop. Rather, this album, along with Youngblood's really, shows that everything in pop rock is fair game, the hip-hop is barely necessary, and all you really need are rock stars. Alright, that's all I've got for today. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. I'm a new channel, and people liking the video really helps more people discover my content. And I also had to cut a few things I would have liked to talk about just to keep the video short, but I'd be more than happy to keep the conversation going in the comments if any of you are interested. So, yep, that's it. We're at the end of the video. I'm done. Thanks for watching.